believer that museums are spaces in which we come to marvel. And when audiences are here, the exhibition becomes like this occasion for a kind of interrelation or an occasion for us to be moved. The biennial sort of forms like an assembly or an ensemble or a chorus for these times.
One of the most important things is to create a platform for artists to be asking questions they want to ask, or they want the culture to ask, or they want this museum in the city of New York to be asking right now.
We wanted to show the range of ways in which artists are working. Who were some of the artists that were thinking and making in this way, who were questioning identity using modes of making that are maybe surprising, that one wouldn't expect, who were kind of really comfortable with maybe some lack of certainty around questions of representation, questions of belonging. We wanted to be able to kind of show that fierce sense of criticality and sensitivity to a kind of radical openness.
Artists are addressing anything from gun violence, work that deals with mystery, work that deals with love and loss, work that obviously deals with the pandemic. Artists who think really closely about place and dislocation. Artists who think about their families as a way to really form a personal language to talk about larger issues in the culture. Artists that deal with mythology as a way to speak to how past can be rethought in our present moment.
One of the things that we have institutionally been thinking a lot about is how do we define what is American? I think part of working at the Whitney Museum is to kind of constantly be asking that question. And it became very clear to us that there were real questions that were being asked around how do we think about the borders of the United States?
For us, it was something to work with, but also against. So it was important for us to make this both about artists for whom the United States isn't their home, and for whom the impact of the United States, or the reciprocal relationship between the two countries, is extremely important to understanding both.
Artists are always responding to the conditions of their lives in some ways. What we're noticing is that the object is in fact becoming thicker, denser, more complicated, it's research-driven, it's process-oriented. It's trying to hold and communicate the complexity of what is being challenged. What does it mean to create a system around oneself, meaning life, family, story, and sort of map that onto a larger world and do a really research-driven process that might look at a whole range of things in order to come up with your own system of meaning? There's also this question of what has been or what could have been.
Our instinct is both to look forward, but also to look past. And certain names kept coming up when we were visiting artists in their studios, who we started referring to as kind of the ghosts that haunt those studios or haunt us in our thinking. We thought about who could be certain figures that we were saying that we could give space and attention to that they might not have had during their career, or might have had a different kind of attention directed towards them in their lifetime.
David and I were talking a lot about really wanting to take some ownership as curators in terms of how the biennial could feel like the times in which it's made.
At a time of real change, frequently the onus is placed on the artist to demonstrate it or reflect it in their work. And we thought, well, the show actually needs to take on that responsibility as much as we're asking the artist to do it.
There's sort of this syncopation and this evolution into the presentation that is meant to convey the times in which we live. So precarious and flux, unstable, but also dynamic.
Open, engaged, personal. When you leave, hopefully you'll remember that you saw that show here, and you'll remember who you saw it with.